I was at the office, reviewing temperature metrics in a supply chain report, when my phone started buzzing nonstop. 5 missed calls, all from the same number. Home. I stepped out of the quality control area, thinking something urgent had happened, but the moment I picked up, my father's voice exploded through the speaker. You mocking us, Riley. What is this? Some kind of insult? I froze. What are you talking about? No one cared to hear me out. My mother's voice cut in, sharp as a blade. Shame on you. You live alone, spending everything on yourself while we're barely surviving. Your sister, Ashley, sends $2,500 every month? 2,500, Riley. And you, 50 cents? Are you insane? I had to grip the office railing. My chest felt like it had been punched. That's not true. I've been sending $2,500 every month for nearly a year, directly from my account, clearly labeled. Stop lying, my dad shouted. Ashley told us everything. She's the one supporting us. You're just sitting around doing nothing. The call ended abruptly, leaving me standing there, hands shaking, heart pounding out of rhythm. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. But my whole body went cold, like I'd just been thrown into an ice-covered lake. I had worked night shifts in a freezing warehouse at the supermarket, sacrificed every weekend evening, skipped meals, cut spending, just to send that exact amount every month. I thought if I tried hard enough, I'd finally be seen, finally be acknowledged. My name is Riley Taylor, 30 years old, a quality control supervisor at a food processing company in Kansas City. I live alone in a tiny ground floor apartment with walls thin enough to hear my neighbor flush. I work full-time, and every Friday through Sunday night, I take the graveyard shift in a cold warehouse, stacking heavy boxes in a space that smells like bleach and sweat. My base salary is $3,200. To send $2,500 home each month, I had to cover the difference by working overtime and cutting nearly every personal expense. I canceled Netflix, sold my road bike, lived on instant noodles and canned soup all week. Every time I checked the transfer app, I'd whisper to myself, hang in there, they'll see your effort. And yet, they think I sent 50 cents. I walked back into the office, ears still ringing. The report in front of me blurred, replaced by the number 2,500, carved deep in my mind, the number I'd sent every month. I didn't do it because anyone forced me. I did it because, for once, I wanted to feel like I mattered in this family. But even then, I still wasn't enough. I was still just a shadow behind Ashley. I remembered every single transfer, always on the 3rd of the month, always labeled clearly, Riley Taylor, never late. And Ashley, my younger sister, told me the same thing together, like a thank you to mom and dad. I'll use an anonymous name just for fun. That name was Autumn Blue. Now I understand why she suggested it. I didn't say anything to anyone that night. I just lay there, eyes fixed on the ceiling, ears echoing the words 50 cents, like an open wound that wouldn't stop bleeding. My whole body curled up like I was falling endlessly into a bottomless room, and in my mind only one question repeated itself. What am I in their eyes? I still remember that rainy night when I was 10, when my mom hung a pastel pink dress on the bedroom door and spoke in a strangely gentle tone. That's for your sister, Riley. Don't wrinkle it. I just had it made for Ashley's photo shoot next week. I nodded. But what I really wanted to ask was, what about me? No one asked if I wanted to be in the photos. No one noticed the way I stared at the studio lights my dad had just installed for Ashley in the garage. Since she was 5, Ashley had been called the little angel of the family. Round cheeks, golden hair, eyes as blue as a spring sky. She was the perfect candidate for the beauty pageants my mother obsessed over. And me? I was tall for my age, with brown hair and sun-darkened skin from running around in the backyard. My mom said I took after Dad's side, a gentle way of saying I wasn't the kind of daughter she had in mind. In 3rd grade, I asked to take evening art classes because I loved drawing. My teacher once said I had an eye for color, but when I handed the registration form to my mom, she barely glanced at it and said, You should focus on math. Drawing doesn't help in life. That same week, she bought Ashley a pair of real leather ballet shoes with silk ribbons and drove her to a new dance class 20 minutes from home. Ashley didn't even like dancing. I knew that, but if Ashley asked, Mom would make it happen. If I asked, it was different. Our house had 3 bedrooms, but when Ashley started middle school, Mom said I should move to the basement so Ashley could have her own space. I packed up my things and took my pillow to the half-sunken, damp, dark room next to the water heater and boxes of old paint. No one asked me if I was okay with it. I didn't argue. I already knew how it would go. I used to think maybe if I worked harder or helped more, things would change. In 6th grade, I won 2nd place in a county-wide science creativity competition. The prize was a weekend campus tour of several universities. I brought the invitation home, excited, and handed it to my dad. He raised an eyebrow. Friday through Sunday, that's when Ashley has her spring photo shoot rehearsal. Your mom needs help. So I stayed home, cleaned the camera lenses, ironed Ashley's dress, and held an umbrella over her in the backyard during the shoot. When I was 15, my grandfather, the only person who ever praised me, passed away. He was the only one who listened when I talked about food packaging design ideas, about my dream of studying industrial engineering. He once told me, "Riley, you're the kind of person who keeps the world running, quiet but strong." When he died, I lost the only emotional anchor I had. I never told anyone I was being bullied at school. I didn't tell my mom when Ashley took my savings from the piggy bank to buy makeup and no one scolded her. I didn't mention that at 16, I applied for a part-time job at a bakery just to buy myself a new backpack, while Ashley was taken on designer shopping trips at the start of every school year. I stayed silent for too long, and that silence made them believe I didn't feel anything. Now, at 30 years old, with a stable job and a cramped apartment that's at least mine, I'm still called selfish, all because Ashley spoke first. And I still haven't learned how to scream to claim what's rightfully mine. But I'm beginning to understand. It's not because I didn't try hard enough, it's because, in their eyes, Ashley always came with her own spotlight, and me? I had to build my own flashlight from scratch. I got a call from Ashley on a Monday night just as I was finishing a bowl of tomato soup and toast, cheap and filling enough to stretch through the last week of the month. Her voice came through soft, almost tender, unlike her usual snobbish tone. "Really, I have something to say, but please, don't be mad." I paused, spoon halfway to my mouth. "Go ahead." "I was just thinking, we owe Mom and Dad so much. They gave up their whole youth for us. I feel really bad." I didn't respond, my mind filled with images of those sacrifices. Me eating dinners alone, being pushed aside so Ashley could have space. "I have a plan, Riley. We'll send $4,000 a month together, like a thank you gift. They won't have to worry about bills anymore. They can finally relax." I was speechless. 4,000? That was more than my rent and living costs combined. But before I could say a word, Ashley rushed on, like she'd rehearsed it. "I know you're not exactly rolling in money, so I'll handle most of it. I'm freelancing for a couple beauty brands. Last month I even got paid for a few TikToks." I tightened my hand under the table. "So, how much do I contribute?" "Half, maybe? I'll cover the rest. You only need to send 2,000. I'll send mine under a name, Autumn Blue. Just for fun. You can use your real name." I frowned. "Why a nickname?" "Just to make it a surprise. Like it's from a secret admirer or something. Cute, right?" I didn't think it was cute at all. But Ashley's voice was too soft, too sweet, and I was too hungry for that one moment where we'd finally be a we, even just once. That night, I registered a recurring transfer and scheduled it for the 3rd of each month, right when my parents usually paid utilities. $2,000 pulled from my paycheck and the rest from night shifts at the Westside Distribution Center. I canceled my high-speed internet, sold the blender I'd saved for since last year, and started walking to work instead of taking the bus. Every dollar saved was a step closer to hitting that target. The cold storage room where I worked had no heating. In Kansas winters, it dropped into the 20s. My hands cracked from the torn gloves. Summer brought the stench of garlic, onions, and plastic. I'd return home just as the sun began to rise, drenched in sweat, feet throbbing, but my heart full. I thought this time my effort would finally be seen. One evening, while entering QA data at work, I checked the banking app and saw the scheduled transfer had just gone through. $2,000. Note, from Riley Taylor. I smiled to myself. All I needed was for my parents to know it was from me. Just this once, I wanted to be noticed. What I didn't expect was that my real name would feel like a slap to them, while Autumn Blue, a name that sounded like something out of a cheesy romance movie, became the hero in their eyes. I didn't realize it until much later. Ashley never intended to share the spotlight. She just used my hands to keep her glow burning brighter. And me, like so many times before, willingly stepped into the shadows, hoping this time I'd step back out together. That morning, I was checking samples of a new bottled sauce for the holiday line in the lab when my phone screen started flashing nonstop. 7 missed calls, all from my mom. I wiped my hands, removed my gloves, and stepped into the hallway. I hadn't even spoken yet when her voice slammed through the phone. "You think sending 75 cents is funny, Riley?" I froze, thinking I'd misheard. "What?" "Don't play dumb," my dad roared from the other end. "Ashley sends money every month, and you send 75 cents. I've never seen a more shameless daughter." I felt dizzy. "No, I've been sending $2,000 every month, regularly, with my name on it, from my account." "Don't make things up," my mom cut in. "We know Ashley is the one truly sending money. She uses a sweet nickname and you slap your name on it for attention. You think that's enough to earn praise?" It felt like every word was a hammer to my chest. "Did you even check the transaction history?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Every third of the month, from Riley Taylor, nothing hidden." My dad scoffed. "That name only shows up for 75 cents. The big transfer is from Autumn Blue. Ashley just admitted it's her nickname. You think tossing spare change around will make us cry out of gratitude?" I couldn't breathe. My throat tightened like someone had their hands around it. I hung up with trembling fingers and rushed to the break room. I pulled up my banking app immediately. Each transfer, $2,000, on the 3rd of every month, was still there. My name clearly listed. I didn't understand. Why were they saying 75 cents? I called the bank. The representative confirmed everything. My account was fine. All transfers had gone through properly. No partial or small payments. My hand shook as I gripped the phone. That night, Ashley texted, "I don't get why Mom and Dad are so mad at you. I just said I used a nickname when sending money. I never told them you didn't send anything. Maybe they misunderstood." Misunderstood? She knew exactly what would happen if she let them believe she was the only one sending money. And just like that, they picked a side. No evidence, no verification. One word from Ashley erased nearly a year's worth of sacrifice. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there staring at the ceiling, replaying every week I'd come home with swollen feet after night shifts in the freezing warehouse. Every dinner of cheap sandwiches to save money. Every item I sold just to reach that amount. All of it, just to be labeled as 75 cents fake. I sat up, opened the transaction history, screenshot everything, time-stamped each entry, circled my name, the reference numbers. I saved it all in a private folder titled The Truth. No one cared what I went through. They only cared about what Ashley said. She didn't need to prove anything. She didn't need to suffer. She just had to smile. And me? One wrong move and I was the punchline. I'd spent my life as a shadow, but this time they held the spotlight to my pain and displayed it like I was the problem. I wasn't angry anymore, just felt hollow, like I never really existed to them. And that was the moment I realized love can be manipulated, effort can be stolen, but truth always has a place. I just needed the patience to bring it into the light, and I was ready to begin. I met up with Megan, my best friend from college, at a small cafe near Midtown. Megan's the kind of person who can spot a lie with a single blink. Finance major turned data analyst at a tech company in Chicago. I had never told anyone the full story. But that day, I told her everything. I explained the accusatory phone calls, the $2,000 I'd been sending every month, the autumn blue nickname, and how my parents believed I was only sending 75 cents. Megan sat in silence, stirring her unsweetened mint latte. When I finished, she tilted her head, eyes sharp as a blade. You're bleeding for a family that wouldn't even hand you a Band-Aid. I gave a half smile. She set her cup down and leaned in, elbows on the table. Be honest, Riley. Are your parents really struggling? Or are they just used to living off the guilt money you keep forcing yourself to give? I wanted to answer, but the truth felt too uncertain. Megan blinked. Ashley said she freelances for some beauty brand. I shrugged. She mentioned a Korean label, something like Glow Pop, but I've never seen a contract, not a single invoice. Megan nodded slowly. Give me 3 days. I'll look into everything. 3 days later, I got a call while driving home from my night shift. Megan didn't waste time. I talked to some folks in the industry. There's no freelancer named Ashley Taylor who's ever worked with Glow Pop. Her name doesn't appear on any of the 3 major influencer platforms. My stomach dropped. And that's not all, Megan continued. A friend of mine from a photo studio in Boston said Ashley came in for a shoot but never paid. She claimed it would be deducted from an ambassador contract she was about to sign. Reality? No such contract exists. I gripped the steering wheel tightly. My car was still parked in the lot under the dim yellow lights. Megan wasn't done. Your parents? Even worse. I checked a few local community groups. Someone spotted your dad, Jerry, at the Wind River Casino last month. Your mom, Marta, posted a photo of a Gucci purse and a Movado watch on Facebook, captioned, "A gift from my loving daughter." I froze. A gift from their loving daughter? Exactly. They're living lavish off your sacrifice and feel no shame about it. I hung up and sat in the car for nearly an hour. Every cold warehouse shift played through my mind. Every night I ate stale cup noodles. Every item I sold to make my transfers possible. Meanwhile, they were gambling, buying designer goods and pretending to be broke. I opened my banking app. My hand didn't shake. Not anymore. I went to the scheduled transfers and tapped cancel. A pop-up asked, "Are you sure you want to cancel this recurring transaction?" I tapped yes. In that moment, a wave of warmth spread from my neck to my shoulders, like it was the first real breath I'd taken in months. That evening, I sent Megan a short email titled, "Thank you for the truth." And then, I blocked all 3 of them, my dad, my mom, and Ashley, from my contacts. I knew they'd call again, they'd try something, but this time, I wouldn't pick up. I was making my morning coffee when my phone buzzed. The screen lit up. Ashley calling. I froze. After more than a month of cutting contact, she was calling again. I should have ignored it, but somehow my thumb slid over to the green button. Riley, Ashley's voice trembled, none of her usual smugness. You're mad at me, aren't you? I stayed silent. I didn't know things would end up like this. Mom and Dad, they found out I haven't been sending any money. I just wanted us to do something good together. I tightened my grip around the ceramic mug. No, you wanted someone else to do the work while you took the credit. That's not fair. I didn't make you do anything. I cut in, my voice calm. But you stayed silent when they called me the one who sent 75 cents. You watched them yell at me and you said nothing. You only spoke up when everything exploded. There was a pause on the other end. Then Ashley's breathing quickened. I need help. You mean you need money? I asked, unable to hide the bitter smile in my voice. I'm drowning in debt. That modeling agency was a scam. They told me to pay an entry fee and disappeared. I used Mom's credit card. Dad sold his car. Mom's working night, cleaning shifts. The house is being repossessed. My whole body went cold, but not from sympathy. You should have thought about that before buying designer bags and eating at rooftop restaurants 3 times a week. Ashley cracked. I know I messed up, but you're the only one who can save us. I swear I'll pay you back. You've sworn a lot of things, but you've never followed through, I replied, and I'm too tired to be the only one trying anymore. I hung up. I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. 3 days later, I came home to find my parents standing right outside my apartment door. Really, there you are, Mom stepped forward like she'd just reunited with a long-lost child. I kept my distance. How did you even find this address? Ashley still had it saved from the transfer receipt, she said. You know, we're just going through a rough patch. Dad chimed in. We just need a little help, just a little, to get through this. There were no apologies. No, are you doing okay? No mention of what had happened. They showed up empty-handed with faces that pretended they'd never broken me. Ashley stood behind them, eyes red, hair messy, none of the usual pride left. I know I messed up, but we've got no one else but you. I looked at the three of them like ghosts stepping out of my worst dream. Before you come to me, maybe try going to the truth. Frowned. What do you mean? I mean, if you really want to make things right, start by facing what you've done. With a therapist. Or just with yourselves. I turned and shut the door. A loud knock followed. Riley, please, I'm begging you. I didn't answer. I stood behind the door, heart steady. They knocked 3 more times. Then silence. As their footsteps faded down the hall, I sank to the floor, my back against the wood. Not a single tear. Silence was no longer a hiding place. It was a weapon, and I had learned to wield it. That day I wrote 3 words in my journal. Not going back. This time, it wasn't about self-defense. It was because I had finally found something more precious than pity. Boundaries. 3 days after that final confrontation, I found an unmarked envelope wedged beneath my apartment door. Inside was a hastily printed sheet, the text slanted and uneven. Not a single word of apology, not one line admitting fault, just numbers. 6 bank account lines, a note that read outstanding debts, family loan, recovery expenses, and one final line, handwritten in red ink. If you won't help, we'll have to use the money Henry left behind. This is your last chance to do the right thing. I froze, my hands turned cold. Grandpa Henry's fund, that was the one thing that kept me grounded through the chaos of my younger years. He was the only one in the family who had ever treated me with respect. When I was 16, he once held my hand in the backyard, pointing at the apple tree I had grown from seed. Really, he said. There are things you have to plant, water, and protect on your own. No one can do that for you, and don't let anyone pick your fruit before it's time. When he passed, his lawyer contacted me privately. That's when I learned he had set up a trust fund worth $45,000. Not a fortune, but it came with strict instructions, only for me. Once I turned 25, to pursue a master's degree, start a business, or buy a home. No one else could touch it. I hadn't used it yet. I was still making do with my current job, but whenever the world felt like it was caving in, I'd remember that money like a safety net, a reminder that someone had once seen my worth and left something behind just for me. And now they were threatening to take it. I wasn't shaking anymore. I wasn't angry. I was crystal clear on one thing. They never stop. They just step back long enough to find a new way to trample me. The next morning, I went to my grandfather's lawyer's office. Mr. Marlon Finch, the man who had helped Grandpa Henry establish the trust all those years ago. I handed him the paper and said simply, I need this fund protected completely. Mr. Finch didn't ask many questions. After reviewing the document, he nodded. I'll transfer the entire amount into a locked 3-year investment fund with dual-factor authentication and fingerprint verification. No one but you will have access, and I'll issue legal notifications to anyone who tries to interfere. I signed the paperwork. There was no grief in me anymore. Only release. After that, I did three things. I changed my phone number. I submitted a formal request to building management to reject any mail or visitors using my family's name. I deleted every old message, saved screenshots of key conversations, and stored a secure backup in my work email, as evidence should I ever need to protect myself again. That night, I came home, turned on the balcony light, and watered the lavender plant, just starting to bloom, soft purple buds. The scent rose gently into the quiet air, like I had finally shut the door on something rotten that should have been sealed long ago. I opened my laptop and typed the first journal entry for the new year. No one enters my life without the key of integrity. From that moment on, my family, or rather the people who once wore that title, were no longer the place I turned to. They had chosen Ashley. They had chosen lies over truth. They had chosen exploitation over companionship. And now, I chose the one thing they could never manipulate: freedom. 3 years had passed since the last time I heard my mother's voice. The last time I saw Ashley was her silhouette disappearing down my apartment hallway, arms wrapped around a torn handbag, eyes fixed to the floor. After that threatening envelope, I lived quietly, like someone who'd survived a violent storm, not wanting to recount it, nor needing anyone to acknowledge how she made it through. I left Kansas City and moved to a small lakeside town in Minnesota, where spring lasts longer than winter and the local shops remember your name after just a few visits. My new apartment was on the third floor, with glass windows facing the lake. I bought a foldable wooden chair, placed it by the sill, and every morning I sat there with my coffee, watching the water reflect the sky like a painting. I planted lavender, rosemary, and white daisies, not violets like Grandpa Henry loved, but I knew he would have smiled. I no longer worked at the old factory. After earning a supply chain consulting certificate, I applied to an organic food export company in Duluth. 6 months later, I was promoted to head of quality standards. A modest title, but enough to make me feel heard, no longer a shadow. I learned how to cook, not to save money, but because I wanted to care for myself. I learned how to walk slower, to really hear the birds instead of just treating them like background noise while running for the bus. I started reading again, books I had once dreamed of having the time for. No one called asking for money, no one assumed I'd be the one to sacrifice, and no one mentioned Ashley like she was some model I was supposed to live up to. I lived for the first time, in every sense of the word. In my third fall since moving, I received a wedding invitation from Megan, my fiercely honest college friend, and the only person who had stayed when I was at my lowest. The wedding was in St. Paul, in a small garden bursting with red and gold leaves, late autumn sunlight draping everything like frosting on a wedding cake. Megan wore a simple white dress, her hair tied up, her eyes glowing like they'd never known disappointment. I stood on the edge of the garden, about to sip my wine, when Megan tugged my arm. "Come on, there's someone you need to meet." His name was Daniel, an interior architect, best friend of Megan's husband, recently moved from Oregon. He wore a slate grue suit, crisp white shirt, round framed glasses, and a small smile, not forced, just calm enough to make you feel safe. "Hi there," he said, reaching out with a warm, low voice. "You're Riley?" I don't know why, but something in the way he said it made me want to exhale, like the kind of breath you release after a long, exhausting road. We talked the entire evening. Not about family, not about work, just small things. Like why every porch deserves a rocking chair, or how cinnamon rolls can fix the worst kind of day. Daniel didn't ask what I'd been through, but when I told him I liked the quiet, the way he looked at me told me he understood. As we said goodbye at the garden gate, he asked, "Do you think sometimes, to build a strong home, the first step is tearing down the old foundation?" I looked him in the eyes and smiled. "I think it's the only way." We didn't promise anything. But that night, for the first time in years, I left my balcony door unlocked. I went to sleep with the wind rustling through the lavender pot, and a heart light enough to dream without old ghosts. No Ashley, no mother, no threats disguised as daughterly duty. Just me. Riley truly living in a world I chose, defended, and lit with my own hands. And if someone were to ask what I found after everything, I'd answer simply, I didn't seek revenge, I just chose to live, without needing anyone's forgiveness. Riley's story is a powerful reminder that family bonds do not mean permission to be exploited. When she found the courage to sever toxic ties and protect her own worth and achievements, Riley didn't just escape the pain, she built a peaceful, empowered life. In real life, sometimes the bravest thing isn't unconditional forgiveness, but knowing when to say enough and choosing to live for yourself, even if it means walking away from those who carry the title of family. What do you think about Riley's choice? What would you do in her place? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to follow the channel for more heartfelt family stories and powerful life lessons to come.